Welcome, Tiny Hands, Big Dreams, here in our off-grid homestead. I'm Chris, and this is my wife Elizabeth. If you're new here, we decided a few years ago to move to the edge of the Amazon in southern Ecuador, start an off-grid homestead, build a natural house from the earth itself, and generally sort of have our entire own existence here.
Yep, we're headed towards self-sufficiency one day, but it takes time.
Now,
we've been here on our property for a little over 2 years.
A little over 2 years. Now, we live way off-grid, out of town. Because of that, and because we are also in Ecuador, there is a complete and total difference in consumer-related availabilities.
We are also not consumers of much.
We're not consumery people.
If you watch our videos, you will see all of our clothing is less than new and patched, and we repair and make do.
I'm wearing
everything.
Yeah, I mean, like, I do nonstop work around here, and I'm wearing the same jeans that I bought 3 years ago, and there's like 17 patches on them, each leg. Anyway, now this is an interesting list because this is from we're not really consumers. We don't just buy stuff. Even like presents and stuff. Like we get something when it's needed. When somebody else needs something, we don't just buy crap for things.
No.
For people. But this is the list of what we actually would buy.
So this is our plan. I guess is a little bit of a background. Not things we would. I mean, there's a lot of other things I would buy, but our specific situation. Without going into the long story and details, we have no money currently.
Yeah, we're a little broke.
We're a little broke. It happens. Life has thrown lemons at us sometimes. We are in
we've drank all the lemonade and we're out of lemons.
And sugar. So water. So we are waiting to sell a second property that we have that was our visa property. It's a whole long story. Kerfuffle.
If you're looking for a lovely mountaintop home site, absolutely cannot be beat. It is one of the nicest I've ever seen. We bought it for our visa. We decided not to live there. If you're interested in that, we did a video on it way back when, or get a hold of us.
Below. Yeah, it's great. We need to sell it. That was always the plan. Is what it is. We do expect to sell it in the next 2-3 months. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Because of that, we have been thinking about the things that we want to spend that money on. It would be really easy to get the money and be like, yay, and just spend it willy-nilly and make poor choices.
No.
So we, just on a personal level, needed to make a list of the things that we wanted to prioritize and sort of allocate that money so that we spent it intelligently and we didn't run out, and we invested some of it into other things. So that's what this list is.
Yes.
Which I think is an interesting sort of behind-the-scenes look of building a homestead on super not a lot of money.
There's a lot of homesteaders right now who are saying what we're going to do and we're going to buy in 2025, and we're going to buy a lake and a thing and a something and a Lamborghini tractor and a, there's all this craziness, and we're like, wow, and she's over here like, can I have a new hat?
So we are not consumers, but there are some things that we simply need to purchase. So this is our list of things that we plan to buy when that money comes in.
Yes. All right. In no particular order.
There is no order.
So the beginning of the list is just as good as the middle or the end of the list.
It's just whatever order we wrote it down in. Okay. Wood chipper. Wood chipper. It sort of seems maybe slightly strange. And to be fair, I think this is potentially the one that doesn't make it on our final list. We go back and forth about it.
We do. We waffle on the wood chipper.
We bought mostly what is the word I want? Jungle. We bought jungle. Trees. Lots of trees. It was at one point the largest trees were taken out for lumber. So it's not untouched, but it's mostly not cleared.
There's a ton of scrub, bush, bad second growth.
And we have trees.
Yeah,
We just
and then
don't have the giant
there's
ones.
big trees, but they're a kind of wood that is not usable for anything.
So there is a lot of clearing land in order to build a house, have animals, have a garden, whatnot.
Small, twisted, shrubby tree.
Or useless larger trees that we can't then build out of. We try to use what we can, but some just aren't. And we buy wood chips.
We do. So local carpenter, nice guy, runs a real simple, rustic, rural carpentry shop in the closest town. Lets us buy. We basically use old feed sacks, which would hold 100 pounds of corn, and we stuff those as tight as we can stuff them of dry wood chips. Because he's a carpenter, he gets a lot of wood, he dries it, and then he runs it through his planer. So these are like planer chips. So they're like little curly things. They're dry, and they're 50 cents a bag.
And they're great for the animal houses.
They are really good for the animal houses. Because they are Amazonian hardwoods, they break down slowly. We put them through the compost pile. Even after everything else has composted down, a lot of that structure remains of the wood chips because they break down so slow. So we have then been making and moving that compost to our gardens, which is what's really needed for our soil is compost. Therefore, the wood chipper.
Now the wood chippers, it's one, we can do something with all of the wood that we clear, because right now it just sort of sits around because burning it doesn't work super well in our very wet climate. Certain times of the year we can, the rest of the time it just sits.
It semi-rots before it dries.
It's not ideal. So if we can chip it, not only, yes, we could use, I don't know if we want to use the chips for the animal houses, but I'm thinking paths. I'm thinking being able to, we were talking about just mass amounts on where the pig paddocks are, which would then introduce organics into what is our super clay soil.
Yeah, it'll loosen it, it'll improve drainage, it'll bring the organics and some of the funguses back in. Even, it's not really compost, it's just wood chips, but
it should help a lot.
And the carpenter even said that, like, he goes, oh, you just put them out on all the ground, you just spread them out, and they become one with the soil, and it really improves the soil.
Which we desperately need.
That being said,
the wood chipper.
It's an expensive piece of kit, roughly $800 local. They're all Chinese. It has a gas motor, uses fuel, so there's an ongoing expense there.
So it's something we're still a little bit on the fence about.
Yeah.
Depends on the day. And we're not probably going to go through costs on everything, just because we honestly don't know precise costs on all of these things. But
some of it we will.
This, I'm sure, should have been number one, but it was not on our list as number one, is to finish our house.
We desperately need a house. We are living
need a roof.
In tents that have been soldiering on for some odd years.
Tents are not meant to be used on a daily basis for that long.
The zippers have failed miserably multiple times.
The sides have failed,
The fabric is disintegrating into just fluff.
We need a house. We want a house.
Yeah, we need a house.
We want a house. Gosh, it would be lovely.
Big hold up on that is just a bit of money, really. A roof is
not a lot of money. When we say finish a house, we were talking, this is a $3,000 house build. So we need most of $3,000.
Yeah, I think
we haven't spent that much.
I think we've spent like $800. I think the roof is about $1,200 all told.
Yep. And that's the main thing that's holding us up is...
That was a wasp.
Did it?
It landed on me.
So the roof is the main holdup at this point. The other things, they will happen.
We have to keep it from raining in the house to continue construction on things that can't get wet.
So that's the most important thing. We're gonna buy a roof first. Yeah.
It's just sheet metal. Like we're not fancy.
Okay, not fancy. We are going to import some stuff.
This is an interesting list for anyone who's looking at moving to rural Ecuador.
Especially if you're picky about certain items. I'm sure some people don't care and are not particular, and that's just fine.
And there may be some of this available in other parts of Ecuador, big cities, Guayaquil, Cuenca,
But
Quito.
In order to find those, you have to go to that place. And you have to spend the time to find the thing. we can not do that.
Yeah, so yeah, when you look at travel distance, it's like it's a full day trip for some of these, and then you have to look for the thing.
Yeah. So importing things is relatively easy. Yes, it adds a bit to the cost, which is why part of why we try to wait until we can import a good chunk of stuff instead of little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Unless we know someone that's coming in, and then we just ask them to please bring things. So just a quick list.
Sure.
Toothpaste, particular toothpaste, soaps. We actually did a video
about... Well, the toothpaste, so this gets into the bigger discussion of, so the toothpaste that we want is fluoride free.
Yeah.
Has nano apatite?
No idea.
Sodium nanoapatite. It's that there's a substance that they found that actually helps teeth re-enamel. It is magically awesome for someone who has really bad teeth. It has worked wonders to actually heal microfractures in the enamel. For me, I had a couple of sensitive teeth. I've used it a few times, and like sensitivity is just gone permanently. Can't get it here. Like what you can get here is like your base level commodity stuff mostly.
At least where we are.
At least where we are.
But in any event, like there's, and we did a video on fragrance in products. And all of that, which
it is devilishly hard to find fragrance-free things here.
So that's our soaps. We're struggling because we're running out, or we have ran out.
The scent-free, like the baby soap for dishes, that they've just stopped carrying it. We've bought it all. It's gone.
So we've got to get that. Sock fingers. Such a random personal like items that.
I have a varicose. It's not varicose veins. I have vein issues in my right leg. It's a birth defect. I had too many veins. I've had some removed. I have some veins that are huge. Below my right knee, I have veins down there that are bigger than the one going into my heart. We don't know why. The short story is I have to wear a compression stocking all the time, except when I'm sleeping. They last a good long time, and then
we brought quite a lot.
Yeah,
3 years ago when we moved.
Sure, and I probably get 6 months out of one. But then they get a hole in the heel from hiking up and down the hill over and over doing work, and then they get loose, and when they lose compression, I get blood clots, which is painful. It's not good.
Not good.
So, I haven't been able to find them in the medical supply. There's the more pedestrian sort of like compression stocking, but the one I have is a stronger, like a medical grade compression.
Yeah.
Okay.
Along those lines, well, we'll get to that. But other things we know we're importing specifically. We like bacon and ham and such items. In fact, you're in the fridge right now curing. We need more cure. We can probably find that semi-locally. We
were told somebody knows where we can get it in a big city near us.
If we're going to do an import, we're probably just going to add that.
Right.
We got that.
It's a pound.
There's a bunch of other stuff. We're not going to go through the whole list of things that we're going to import.
Okay.
It will come as we're kind of putting together that list.
Sure.
And we look around and we're like, oh, we need that thing. It's been so long that I forget the things we usually get, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
I know we'll probably pick up some more of certain vitamins.
There's a few
that we just prefer to get imported because we know their quality and purity. We're not sure on the things that we can find locally, and some things we just want to make sure.
Do not trust drugs or supplements made in China.
And pretty much everything here is. So
it's very common. Let me add a real short qualifier to that. I had a very good friend who worked for Bayer. His job was making official the machines that made pharmaceutical products, components and things. He qualified them. He signed off on them. He went to China. He was the most multicultural loving man you'd ever met in the whole world. And he came back and straight up started ranting and just saying, F those people, this and that. And he goes, I turn around, they're changing the settings. And they're like, no, we just do that. And he's like, you can't do that. Like, it has to like sterilize for this time, use this thing, this, you have to use these quality items. And they're like, no. That's not how we do it. And this was Bayer. This was like the internal version. This wasn't the little like like second, third, fourth tier manufacturers. And he goes, do not ever buy anything from China. It only gets worse from there. They will not follow protocols, like even in a large sense. Okay. That's the man that would know. So
we think it is worthwhile importing things like that from reputable brands that we like and trust. Okay, some of this is imported, some of it's not. Clothes, we need clothes. We don't buy a lot of clothes, even ever, really. We bought some extra things when we moved to Ecuador 3 years ago and pretty much haven't bought a single thing since. And we've worked it all to death.
Yeah, we've literally worn out all of our clothes.
I have sewn it back together many, many times, but it is getting to the point of we just need some new things.
I'm wearing t-shirts that honestly I've owned since the late 90s.
So, I mean, we're talking all the way from like socks and underwear to like hats and boots.
Yeah.
Everything. Not anything extravagant. I don't intend to spend a ton of money on it, but we all kind of need to be re-outfitted.
Yeah.
Especially the growing child who destroys clothes.
I really just like cotton t-shirts. We've said it before. Cotton t-shirts are ridiculously hard to find here. Synthetics everywhere.
So some things we may have imported just for ease, because it's also, how much of our time are we going to spend, honestly, to go try to find some of this?
Yeah, I can order a whole pack of like assorted colors, plain cotton t-shirts.
Yeah.
And be happy.
At some point, that is probably easier. There are some known brands of clothes that I like and want, things like that. Otherwise, we will find things locally.
Sure.
But we all need to be re-outfitted. It's getting rough.
The child's
it's rough.
Outgrown his.
It's rough. We are going to, and some of this really is sort of specific to us and less general homestead, but we are going to invest in our YouTube. We started this about a year ago with the least possible the least possible monetary input. We are using the cheapest microphone.
It was the only one we could find.
Well, it's also not good.
It was $20 for a Bluetooth microphone.
Which, if there had been a cheaper one, we probably would have done the cheaper one.
It's over here because it likes her voice so much that if I put it anywhere near her, then we have to like massively truncate the volume, and then you don't hear me, and it's not tunable in any way.
Yeah. And this goes along with a bunch of electronic devices. We didn't really think we were going to be using electronic devices a ton. That's not why we came here.
We lost both laptops in a solar storm.
Yeah.
A while back.
We're on.
Mine blew out the video chip. Hers blew out the processor during the solar storm.
We're on old phones.
I think mine's 7 years old now.
Something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Mine's
That's the one we're using.
Yeah. We will, again, soldier on all of it as long as possible, but it's getting to the point where there's failures and issues, and if something fails on either the last living laptop or your phone,
which is a hybrid of my laptop and hers, which were different brands, models, and years, that I managed to
time these together to make it work. It's the thing. If any of those fail, like our YouTube fails, and we're dead in the water. And we are not yet to be paid by YouTube, but we have made a tiny bit of money, and every tiny bit counts. So for that to potentially end because of our electronic failures would suck.
Yeah.
So we need to invest some money into that, both for YouTube and also for ourselves, because my phone doesn't phone anymore. It doesn't have a lot of purpose anymore.
It was an economy phone to start.
Ooh, I loved it, but it's at the end.
We've tried having it repaired. The parts are impossible to find here.
So there's phones, there's laptop, and
we're talking like another $50 laptop.
Yeah.
Which was what the last one was.
So there's phone, there's laptop, there's better microphones, which would just make our lives a lot easier. We probably won't invest in an actual camera at this point.
No.
Because I think a new phone would be good enough. We may eventually... We're not talking about like crazy amounts of investment. Just a little bit at this point. Just a little bit. All right, so now we're on to more, I guess, homestead related stuff.
All right. Now, we are off-grid. We have solar panels out here. Hi, solar panels. I love them because they just work quietly all the time, except when there's no sun, and then they're lazy, good for nothing.
Like the chickens.
Yeah. So if you are off-grid, I highly suggest either investing in a massive battery bank and solar array, or having a redundant source of power. Now, redundancy is a wonderful thing to have. Eventually, I will build a small hydro plant to pump just a tiny bit of power in that will solve all of our problems. We need a house, and then we need a workshop. I mean, something like that. Until then, we have a generator, which sucks it up and takes care of the overage, or the lack of power. It eats fuel. It costs money. Nice generator. It's a little Honda. The fuel. So gas generators are about the most expensive power that you could possibly buy per kilowatt, short of using AA batteries. It's just, diesel's cheaper. Propane is cheaper again.
Here, at least.
Okay, so if it's like $300 kit, I get the propane conversion kit
For Mr. Generator.
For the little generator. And the double-sized tanks here are the standard.
There's no small barbecue tanks here.
Yeah, I get 4 hours on a gallon of gas, which is $2.60. Or for $1.65, I can get the tank exchanged. And the people that sell the kit say that will go for 60 hours.
For me, that's pretty much a no-brainer. But that is a far better answer.
If we could go, if we made an equivalent to like the 260, so I'm at like 90 hours or something for $2.50 versus $4.
And you said it will also be a little less stinky.
Yeah, propane burns a little cleaner.
The fumes can get a little.
It's a little cleaner, a little quieter. It's less wear on the engine. It's less wear on the oil.
So while there's a little bit of upfront cost, I think it's going to be way better. And
then, that'll last longer and be infinitely cheaper in the long run.
Yeah, which will save us quite a bit. Along the lines of off-gridding.
Critical homestead supply. Water. We've said it before, you will die without water. Have water.
Clean water.
Asterisk, clean water that you can drink, or you will die.
Or be very sick.
Yeah. We have a UV sterilizer. Right now, we're pulling surface water because we haven't managed to chase up the mountain to where the spring comes out of the hill. So we have to sterilize our water, which we have a big 3-foot fluorescent tube in a stainless steel enclosure, which does a great job of sterilizing the water. We cannot get the bulbs here. They're too big to fit in a suitcase. You can't legally import fluorescents. They're illegal in Ecuador. And we're on our last bulb, and it's already at the end of its life, officially.
So that's kind of a critical thing that we need to resolve.
Yep. So when we get around to having the ability to buy one, I think that there is some LED versions. You have to put a lot of energy into the water to actually use UV to sterilize it. It's just a lot of watts. The one we have now is 50 watts. So LED may be more efficient, but it's still, significant wattage. But one that's small enough to be shipped, maybe fit in a suitcase. I think there's some 2-foot sizes now. That was a bit of an oops in our design. A bit of an oops.
Just honestly didn't think about the replacing it part.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
And we did so good on so many things, but that one's just been a bummer. And we were both like, was it just going to fail one day? Are we going to make it? Are we going to make it? It's probably top
honestly
of the list.
It's a pretty scary question mark of like, we can't realistically boil all of our water. Like, it is so much energy to boil all the water you need to drink.
It's also just beyond the energy. It's just
wash
unrealistic.
Dishes. If you don't rinse your dishes in the boiled water, you're washing them with contaminated water. It could have parasite eggs.
Wash your hands, brush your teeth, take a shower. All of it is a potential. Okay. I like clean water.
Clean water.
Some of what we want to spend our money on it's going to go away very quickly, is investing a little bit in, I mean, that's kind of like a future thing. A lot of this is bettering the future, making things cheaper in the future.
Setting ourselves up for the future, which is what we tried to do before. We know more now.
We know more, but we're also just in a different position. We now have our property. We're good, but we kind of have things figured out. We have some plans in place for animals. So, my idea, I think you're on board, are going to get sheep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I approve that.
You approve that. We have pigs. That is a main meat source for us. We've talked about pigs before. They tear up land, which can be very beneficial, can also be a giant pain. They also need, at least the way we have things set up now in our space, they need food input. They just do. Yes, if we had enough land, they could probably eat mostly off the land and be fine. Right now, that's just not the case. We also would like a red meat alternative addition. We don't do cows.
Yeah.
Cows are not for us.
They're too big. They're heavy.
They're wrong for our land. They're wrong for us.
People run cows here, but they have to run them over the land once and move them very quickly. Mm-hmm. They eat everything and they destroy the land, and they tear it up pretty solid.
But we process all of our own meat. A cow is a massive animal when you're talking about moving said animal, alive or not, cooling the meat, just the whole thing is too much. It's just too much. As much as we like beef, it is too much for us.
For the average homesteader, a cow is just too big.
It's just big.
Even hauling the gianty pig down the hill,
which was under 200 pounds, something. A cow is a lot more than that.
Yeah, 200-pound pig, on a hand truck and things and something, and lifting it, moving it, getting on the table, like we can handle that.
So, all this leads us to sheep, which we have eaten before. We love sheep.
Hair sheep.
Hair sheep specifically.
Not wool sheep. No fuzzy white.
No, hair sheep. And that's because we have found the flavor far superior at an older age. So we can let the animal get older, which gives you better marbling, better meat.
A bigger animal,
and it still tastes amazing.
It's
delicious. It's incredible.
We can make a burger from an old hair sheep that you would hands down say is the best burger you've ever had in your life, period, no matter what. Also, probably not be able to know it wasn't beef.
It's just delicious. They are also, they're a ruminant. They will turn grass and weeds into meat.
Grass and weeds grow here constantly.
They grow well.
For free.
They're less destructive to the land than a cow, way less than a pig. So that is our next, and really our only other large animal to add.
That's sort of the final rounding out of the animal.
Which is not a small cost to start with, because there's also a fence involved.
Yeah, the animals, 100, 200 a piece, depending.
Yeah.
But the fence
is a significant cost.
Both in labor and materials.
Yes. But it should, if my plans work out, because who knows, plans would always work out. It should allow us to be completely meat self-sufficient.
Yep.
If we get the sheep and the pigs, and then we'll have birds, and we should be able to be self-sufficient with meat, which is a huge thing. It's our biggest hurdle, I think.
Yeah.
So that's a large project, but I think it's important.
Yeah.
So is the driveway. That's the next thing. That's not as exciting.
We're in temporary casa. The house we're building is up the hill from us, which is a little walk up 57 stairs or something. 52 on that set.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And then there's this set.
It's actually more.
And then there's just a steep section.
And then there's those down there. You're right.
Where we didn't actually get.
We're like 70s on steps.
There's a plan for a lovely little driveway to continue out from our other one, go up the hill, turn. That's going to need a piece of equipment.
You tried to convince me we could do it by hand, and I scoffed at you.
We could.
Scoffed at you.
It would take us a few months.
Oh my god. And then you hit a root or a tree, and you're like, Yes, we could. I don't know how reasonable it is. And then we would still need material delivered. And we would still need something to move the material unless you're going to move it.
Wheelbarrow?
Shovel. So we knew the driveway.
This woman has moved, how many tons?
I don't
figured
know.
out, like 30 tons of rock
It's ridiculous.
by herself with the wheelbarrow and a shovel.
For
Like,
wheelbarrow.
she understands.
Yes, we could do it.
We could.
But honestly, labor is cheap enough here.
We would do nothing else for a period of several months.
And we would still have to have the cost of the material. And that is a significant amount of the cost.
Yeah.
So honestly, at that point,
it's cheaper to have the machine come in and do it for the few hundred versus paying, like, literally just to feed us for the months it would take for us to do it.
Where then the house is not being built and all these other things are not being done. So we need a driveway. And the driveway will then make the finishing of the house 1,000 times easier, because we could just go up there and drive material up there instead of putting material down there and walk. Spend walking much.
And we're probably, like, for the whole driveway, it's probably $300-400 to have the excavator cut it and clear stumps and set it, and then we probably have, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 dump trucks, which we might get for $80 or $90 a piece, full of gravel, and then it has to be $1,200-1,500 by the time we have it done and like packed.
But man, it'd be nice. So nice. This is really in no order. We're going to invest some amount of this money, we don't know how much yet, into some business ideas. I don't know if we're going to go into those. We have plans beyond the YouTube, because the internet is a fickle thing. It is.
There are things that we do very, very well, that we understand very well, and there's opportunity there.
And it is only not happening because we don't have investment money into those projects.
Yep.
So I think as soon as we can put some money into those, we should be able to then try, because that's the other thing. The amount of money that we're getting from selling our property is it. We have no other rabbits and hats left. We've got nothing. So we have to take that money, do the things for the property and ourselves that we need to just be able to continue moving forward. But then invest that into businesses that we will be able to make enough income off of
to sustain us
forever.
Yeah.
And keep moving on. So that's a big part of what this money is going to be used for. I want more birds. I say that, and then I yell at the chickens, and I questions what I don't look at.
When you watch her up there screaming and swearing and trying to kick the chickens away from, like, attacking her as she's trying to feed the goat on the stanchion.
So
I hate these friggin' birds out here.
I have never had birds, chickens that were just so in your face all the time. They're irritating, and you agree.
They're special.
But I really want to get ducks again. We harvested all of our ducks. We have learned some things about keeping birds here. I think we have some better long-term plans.
Yeah.
Where they maybe don't all get eaten by other things.
Or have a deficiency causing them not to lay eggs.
Or just disappear like my chicken last night, which I'm still sad about. She was a free spirit, okay?
Yeah.
And there was no containing her, and so, yep. So we will make some different plans for the future with our birds, but we'll get back to having our own eggs as well, which would be really nice.
Yeah.
And that's not a huge investment.
As much as
just a bit.
The chickens are a pain, they are also the primary bug control, which is what keeps the grasshopper population down.
Yes. So we have some plans for being able to cycle them around areas and through things and keep them safer and healthier for the future. Oh, water tank. Speaking of the magical liquid.
Yeah. Our water system is pretty simple. There's a collection point. It goes to what we call the blue tub. I don't know, it was like
It's a blue
$7.
tub.
It's a blue tub. It's like something you'd wash a dog in. Basically, I plumbed the collection goes into that tub, and it constantly just dumps into it, and it swirls around, and then it overflows out. That is our only buffer in our water system, our only real reservoir, 15 gallons or something. So from there, it just comes down the hill in a piece of hose. So if we use a ton of water that isn't replaced by the fill going in, that will drain to kind of compensate for that. It's small. And then if there's a problem, and there's been occasionally, it always happens dusk when it's raining, and all of a sudden the water's like gone. Well, that means that either A, something has happened to the intake and it's not refilling, or there's like a massive disruption.
Something has happened.
Which has hiked the water path in the dark times into the jungle to find out what's going on with the water. And there are times when, oh boy, that's a big fix. That's going to take me some time and some shovels and things. We want a water tank.
It would also give us some peace of mind for seasons where drought is happening. We have never run out of water here. Much of the country ran out of water not very long ago, and ours got down to.
It gets down to a single, half-inch hose, like flowing constantly, which is still a lot of water, if you can collect it.
Yes.
So we're going to add a big storage tank up the hill somewhere that constantly refills and overflows, like the little blue one. If our system quits, I'm going to have a separate little T-valve at the bottom to where I can switch to the big reservoir tank. And then at least we know, without any sort of electronics or level sensors or things. I have an industrial automation background. Like, I love that kind of stuff, but we're actually going for super simple, reliable. If the water runs out, you walk up and you turn the valve. You know you're on your reserve.
Yep.
You know that's it. Water is a critical conserved resource. And, a good-sized tank, if there's nothing else going into it, we could probably go for weeks.
Yeah. But it would give us a peace of mind.
Yep. Just in case.
And confirmed water, because sometimes I'm like, well, does that mean we don't have water?
You will die without water. The animals will die without water.
We need to put a bit of money into our lovely van.
Vanny.
Love our van. Vanny.
Unfortunately, Vanny eats almost as much oil as gas. It smokes more than a 2-stroke on a cold day. It will cloud the driveway so bad you can hardly see. Mostly it's just the cylinder 4, but the answer is the same, is rebuild the motor. It's either the cylinder head or it's the rings. The answer is the same, you're rebuilding the motor. So there's a bit of money that has to go into it there. There's tires are bald. They're down to their wear markers. We've put 35,000 kilometers on them, mostly on like gravel roads and things.
Yep.
We bought them new when we bought the van. Put nice new tires on it. She needs that. She needs a couple other little like things, door handles that don't work, and just she needs a little bit of help.
Because we need it. It's our only vehicle, and we rely on it.
Yeah, it is. And we, being way out of town, like if we had to walk to where we could get a taxi, it's probably like a 2-hour walk.
Yeah. Not ideal.
To where a taxi would, yeah.
Not that it would be there, but that you could call one to get. So we need that. We are going to expand our garden and growing space.
Heck yeah.
Which isn't a huge amount of money, especially, if we're sort of just, I don't even know what our plans are. I guess that's where the wood chipper comes in. That is a big part of the wood chipper, is building soil for that garden. We
just need more space. Stuff grows here slow. This is good to know. There is only 12 hours of light. There is less because there is clouds. Things here just grow slower.
At least things you want to grow. The weeds seem to grow just fine.
They're not tasty. But when we look at crops, we're like, oh, like the yucca is a 9-month crop. We let it go a year.
Yep.
And it needed the year. So
sweet potatoes take a few months longer, everything. Which
everything's
just means
a little longer.
Need more space.
And you get a little less. You're never going to get that big bumper crop like you did when you had 16 hours of light in a hot summer.
But because it is a year-round growing climate, you don't need that.
Then you just replant.
You just need to have enough space so that you are, say the yucca. Well, if you only plant it once a year, then you only have it once a year.
Right.
So if you plant smaller crops or even the same crop, but like staggered, you simply need more space to do that.
Yeah.
So that's what we just need more space. So we have a plan. We just need a little bit of money.
We just need a lot more garden.
Yeah.
Like cleaned earth.
And we have learned so much about what we have done right and wrong.
Yeah.
That I think we'll have a much better success with a bigger garden. Did I really put water pick on this?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. I asked you if I could put that on the list.
We haven't seen them locally. She has weird little gaps in between teeth.
Just the one.
Just one. Stuff gets stuck in it all the time. It's painful. So she has to like try to floss it. She flosses it so much she's actually damaging the gums.
It's just one of those things that it feels silly to spend money on.
But the water pick uses energy and water, which is both a renewable thing here. We have plenty of water, and as long as the solar is kicking, we have unlimited energy. So we can therefore turn things we have into things we use. And there's a lot of that kind of conversion of like, you know, so we use, you know, energy to turn this into that, turn this into that, turn this into that. I use the solar power to turn a blower to turn the compost into better compost by pumping air into it. What's it cost us? Just keeping the blower running. We don't have to pay for the energy. So
we are not spenders of money.
Yeah.
Just in general, as people, we don't spend money.
We get what we need to get.
Occasionally we get something we want when we can, and that's about it. So to have this list, which I'm sure is not even complete, it feels sort of strange. Like, we're going to buy all these things. It's very reminiscent of when we bought everything that we thought we would need and filled a container to move to a different country. And we were like, wow, that's a lot of money.
You sort of have to like future guess your needs. And we mostly got it right.
And in some ways, I feel much better about our current list because we didn't think we were going to end up on this property. So there are things that we didn't buy that we needed. There are clothes we brought that there's no way I'm ever going to wear because it's way too hot here.
Yeah.
Things like that. We now know much better what we need to spend money on to be successve here.
Yeah.
So we have the plans in place and we know down to like rather fine details of what we need. We've talked about all of this. We just haven't been able to do it.
Yep.
So that's kind of our plan.
Well, they say that with business. Like you basically, you upgrade and you buy things when you absolutely have to, and you sort of soldier until then. You don't just buy all the equipment first and then try to figure it out. So we're here and we're trying our things and we're like, if we have to get a shovel now, we will tell you exactly the size, the shape, the length, and the handle because we've broken and worn out all the other shovels. Really sad about my shovel. I've had it for decades and it's finally so thin that it's just cracking and dissolving. Worn it out.
Like your pants. The child is like his boots. You can see his toes through his boots.
You can see all of everything through his everything.
We are literally just wearing through everything.
At some point, he's just going to have a loincloth he made himself out of some wild animal.
Like wild, isn't he?
He'll look native. People do that here. There's tribes over the hill somewhere. It's fine. He'll be the only light-colored one.
We're out here. It's fine. No one cares what we look like. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we didn't put on the list that you can think of?
No.
Can we replace the plastic on the greenhouse behind us that I can see out of the corner of my eye is falling apart?
The plastic that they said, oh, how long is this going to last? Oh, it'll last 10 years, 15 years, like long time.
In like a year.
It's dissolving. It's just little bits.
So now when it rains, instead of it protecting all of the little baby plants from the torrential downpour, it actually funnels it into lines and just drowns them.
Yeah.
It's the little things. And there's going to be a ton of little things that will add up that we've not even put on a list. Haven't even thought about, honestly. Like, all those little things.
It's true.
There's probably going to be a bit of a a food stock up.
Yeah.
Instead of buying things every week as we like, get little bits of money, we will simply not have to go shopping every week for everything always, which saves time. And it does save money because usually you end up buying something you didn't need to buy. So we'll go back to that.
Yeah.
I think that
It'll be good.
it'll be good.
All
We
right.
just have to get there.
So there is our list. The things a couple of gringos living near the jungle in southern Ecuador would buy for the coming year for their off-grid homestead, being in our particular situation.
It's true. That's our plan.
Maybe people will sit around in their after Christmas like gluttony pile of stuff and think about that.
Maybe.
So, and belated Merry Christmas. Subscribe if you haven't. Oh, newsletter. Should have said it at the front of the video.
Newsletter.
She makes this cool newsletter. It's like an old school, like you'd get in the mail in the 80s and be all excited to read about, like, it's an actual newsletter.
It's just an email.
It's an email. There's no cost. There's no gimmick thing. There's no catch. It's just a cool newsletter about what's going on. You can subscribe to it. There's a way.
You'll just have to email us. I've tried to make a little like subscribe button thing, and YouTube does not enjoy embedded images or forms very much. So I'm still working on that.
Okay, we're working on that. There's an email in our thing. Email us. We'll add you to the list. Just a newsletter.
Yep.
Okay. See you for the next one.